Why, hello everybody, and welcome to Go F.O.C. Yourself. This is the Beats Weekly Final Order Cutoff Show. My name is Brandon. I am co-owner of Variant Edition Comics, way up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. It's been an exciting week for ourselves up here. We got the keys to our new location, so the store is going to be moving at the end of the month. What's that going to mean for this show in particular? On, I would say, July 2nd. Well, I will still be doing the show, but normally I'm doing this from home. This is my day off. Because these are the types of things you do on your day off. You go on streaming to talk about all of the comics that are coming up for Final Order cutoffs, like you do with your pals. I'll probably be doing them from our old location, where in the evenings on Friday and afternoons on Saturday, we'll be running a clearance center, getting rid of some stuff that we just don't want to move. And so you can get some stuff for cheap, and later in the month, you can get some stuff for dirt cheap. So that's going to be really cool. All right. So I've got the topic up top. Name of the thing is called Fifth Week Blues. We're going to talk about why on when Final Order cutoff comes around on the fifth Wednesday of a month, which happens sometimes, how it can be perceived. Because I got a few messages from some folks worried about certain companies and why isn't there a whole lot of stuff happening. So we'll talk about that. But first, of course, as we're doing the streaming show, the first rule, as we're talking about stuff, I'm going to talk about story first. I'm going to talk about collecting second. So if there's anything particular about 20,000 different variants, we're not really going to dig too deep into that. We're just going to make sure that folks who are looking for story are served. There are so many places that you can go to get sort of the nitty gritty on different covers, on different first appearances, on whatnot. We will touch on a bunch of those, but we are going to be talking about, as always, story first. Second rule, helpful information is always welcome, so please feel free to post it. And wherever you're seeing this right now, if you're watching it live, I might pop it up on the screen to share with others. If you've got something cool to add to the conversation, or something you want spoken about on a specific comic, I will see what I can do. Rule number 3, though, unhelpful information will not be acknowledged unless you address me as Comics Daddy, and maybe not even then. That's a rule that has sometimes come into play, which has been very interesting. And rule number 4, don't be a ding-dong. Don't be a ding-dong. That's just a rule for life. If you're a ding-dong, your message is definitely not popping up here. So there's that. If you have any F.O.C. information that you want shared, whether you're a publisher, a creator, or anybody, you can always contact me at bshots@variantedmonton.com. Please mark it as something for F.O.C. Maybe in particular, Go F.O.C. yourself, which I will take as trying to be helpful outside of the go yourself messages that sometimes get sent to the store. The price of being progressive. All right, so right up top, too long didn't watch. So fifth week final order cutoffs. What this means is there's going to be product coming out on June 30th. As all of you know, June 2nd was the first week of shipping. That means there's 5 Wednesdays in this month. And as such, some of the weeks can be pretty lean. I know I've been contacted by a few folks who are worried about DC, just being like, wow, they don't seem to be releasing much of anything on that week. What's going on? Are they going to be okay? Which kind of goes along with the general narrative that's been going around about DC. DC is fine. DC has been putting up some really decent numbers from the sounds of it, and they're definitely happy with the increase in money being made per editorial office. So that's really nice. So you don't really have to worry about their structure. I know they've been changing around a lot. Fifth week just means that there's less product to go around, and DC likes to keep their regular books on certain scheduled weeks. Like Batman's usually a week 1 book, and so on and so forth, as they kind of like fill out their week. And so on the 5th week, they tend to run things that aren't really tethered to a date. A lot of miniseries, a lot of annuals in this case, and a lot of their side series. So that's what you're seeing on the list today. When we go over it, it's going to be a small handful of stuff. Don't worry. You'll notice almost no change in Marvel, because Marvel likes to just pump things through. Is there a 5th week? Well, let's just put out more content. Fun stuff all around. All right, let's get to doing this, getting some screen share going. Should come up with like different sound effect things to public domain spooky button. Come up with some other stuff to pop up to transition while I'm futzing around with the internets. As always, if you don't see this changing as I go through some of the items, let me know, because sometimes it gets stuck. All right. There we are. Oh, it goes really tiny. Oh, that's so cute. I didn't realize how tiny I could make the little box. And it's not useful to you at all. But it is fun for me when I need to try and see if I can see the comments and the screen at the same time. So, all right. Starting with Image Comics, they have crossover number 7 coming out. That starts a new story arc. It is a one-shot issue about what happened to Chip Zdarsky. You might know in the series itself, comic creators are being hunted down and murdered for reasons. And this little side issue is going to feature Chip Zdarsky with Phil Hester telling the story about what's happening to Chip, because he was mentioned to be missing. So we'll see. I think that's really cool that they're kind of playing with that there. I know Danica's excited for the newer issue of Department of Truth, because they're doing some Sasquatch stuff. She likes her some cryptids, which is really fun. Fire Powers Volume 3 is coming out. It's been a nice sort of Iron Fist take with a lot more of a familial vibe to it. The Goddamned Volume 2 finally is coming out. It's a slow series, much like all of Jason Aaron's series. This one is exploring the Bible, but what if the Bible was just like filthy? And I don't mean like sexually filthy, although there is some stuff there, but I mean just like coated in dirt and blood and guts. He works on it with his scalped partner, Aram Guerra. Each volume is a separate story. So the first one is Cain and Abel, and the second one talks about the Virgin Brides. Like I said, it is some rough stuff. So if you're not in the mood for a bit of blood and guts mixed in with your Christianity, I'd probably skip it. But it is one of my favorite books out there right now. Made in Korea number 1 is getting a second printing. We have a whole bunch still at the store. I highly recommend it. Issue 2 is really going to be where things kick off. It is the story of a society where people can't really have kids, and the rich can essentially buy themselves some childrens. And one couple does so, not knowing that there's a programmer who's kind of in a piece of programming and shipped it to them. And that's how they got their kid for so cheap. So we're going to see how that all plays out. That Texas Blood returns. This is a new story arc. I love this series. It features Chris Condon doing the story and Jacob Phillips on art. You might know Jacob Phillips as the colorist for all of the Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips stuff, starting with All of My Heroes Were Junkies. a fantastic artist in his own right, has a neat mix of, I would say, like a Darwin Cook meets Sean Phillips, and his coloring is absolutely wonderful. If you are looking for more of a criminal type vibe, that Texas Blood is a series to also check out. And this one kind of goes back in time from the first series, telling some stories from the past. Walking Dead Deluxe is getting some reprints for folks who missed out. I know we got a message from a rep at Image saying that issues 1 to 6 in the second prints that look like this are nearing the end of their print run. So to be aware of that. Kirkman has said they do not intend to collect these color editions. I think they will at the end. What's really cool about them is they have a bunch of back matter in the back, including Kirkman going over his notes about what made it into the book and what didn't. And they're fascinating pieces of craft and art if you want to re-experience The Walking Dead in a slightly different way. Dark Horse, the bulk of the interesting stuff coming out from them is all these collected editions, which look absolutely amazing. Folks, comic stores are definitely aware that there's a new Avatar Last Airbender Smoke and Shadow Omnibus. This collects some of the smaller volumes that they were doing earlier, and these always go out of print really quick. And Dark Horse has always taken their sweet time getting them back in print. I don't see that changing because that's just sort of how Dark Horse's MO has been. So keep an eye out on that in terms of demand, and make sure that your folks who are getting these omnibuses are aware that there's a new one coming up. Maybe even just preemptively order some for them. I know you can end up getting burned in a few cases, but more often than not, you're actually going to do pretty good connecting people with their products. Black Hammer Visions Volume 1 is coming out. Not an oversized hardcover, but the first collection of the anthology series. This one, as it says, features such folks as Patton Oswalt, Jeff Johns, Chip Zdarsky, and Mariko Tamaki, with Dean Kotz, Scott Collins, Johnny Christmas, and Diego Olortegui. Might have said that right. I don't know. Doing the writing and art duties. So yeah, it's going to have some real cool stuff in there. I've enjoyed the story so far. And man, but all of Black Hammer stuff is pretty awesome, to be fair. There's a Complete American Gods that collects all of the American Gods stuff that they did in a nice oversized format, much akin to the Absolute Edition size. Dead Dog's Bite, my pick of the week this week for a final issue, is coming out in collection. Let's go over the plot here. Cormac Guffin has gone missing, and it's been 3 days and no one has seen hide nor hair of her. The police have nothing, and the townsfolk are acting more like a funeral procession than a search party. If Cormac has any hope of being found, it rests on the slouching shoulders of her best friend Jo. Jo will need her wits about her, though, because, like any story worth hearing, nothing is what it seems. This book was weird. It was really cool, a surreal type mystery story that has the formatting of, say, like a Fraction and Aha Hawkeye series, or truly a Tyler Boss book. And yeah, I need to discuss this with people. I know it's a long time for it to come out in collected edition, but I've talked with a lot of folks who have bought it, and I'm looking forward to talking with them next week. Because there's just a lot to dig into there if you're into a good mystery, but one that leans on the weirder side. Dracula, Son of the Dragon, from Mark Sable and Selgood Sam. Mark Sable, he actually got on the TSA list for having a script in his bag for a book, I believe, called Unthinkable, which was about terrorist attacks. I haven't seen his name I haven't heard that name in a long time. A blood-soaked epic of the real-life Vlad the Impaler's transformation into the vampire Dracula. Part historical fiction, part horror fantasy, this graphic novel is brought to you by Mark Sable. Oh yeah, it is Unthinkable. It says right there. And Selgood Sam. Based on the real-life story. Fear Case is coming out with its all-in-one volume. This is a Matt Kint, Tyler Jenkins joint. No-nonsense Secret Service agent and his New Age partner investigate a mysterious box known as the Fear Case, which has appeared throughout history at sites of disaster and tragedy. Whoever comes into possession of this case must pass it on within 3 days or face deadly consequences. The agents must track down this Fear Case while staying one step ahead of the psychotic cult and the otherworldly forces behind the case's existence. Collects the 4-issue miniseries. The Halo graphic novel is coming back into print. This was originally put together by Marvel, of all folks, and features a whole bunch of very interesting stories in it, including stuff from Mobius. So if you ever wanted to see Mobius draw some Halo, well, there you go. It's a very, very interesting collection. And as it says here, back in print for the first time in over a decade. That's a long time. And I know a lot of folks who've been looking for this. What's really wild is after this Halo graphic novel, the follow-up was a Halo book by Brian Bendis and Alex Maleev. So maybe they'll get around to doing that one as well. That would be pretty cool. The Hellboy Omnibus Box Set is coming out, collecting the trade paperbacks in a nice exclusive box. It runs about the price of those 4 books separately, for those of you who are looking for that. And yeah, Yanu Child of Wonder and Malika Warrior Queen are from Unique Studios, both, pairing up with Dark Horse to release these 2 graphic novels. Inayu, a teenager orphan with no recollection of her past, suddenly discovers that she has abilities that rival the ancient deities told in the folklore of her people. It is these abilities that are key to bringing back an age of wonders, and Yanu begins her journey to save a world on the brink of destruction. The corrupt, cursed wildlife and strange divine beasts are determined to destroy humanity unless Yanu can stop them. Dark Horse and Unique Studios launch a shared universe of African fantasy superhero stories. The Unique Universe. Extraordinary stories about extraordinary characters inspired by African history, culture, and mythology. And Malika Warrior Queen is, of course, part of that world as well. Following the exploits of Queen and military commander Malika, who struggles to keep the peace in her ever-expanding empire, Azaz, the historical fantasy, is set in the 15th century West Africa and created by an all-star team from Nigeria. In this action-packed graphic novel, African history mixes with drama, politics, betrayal, romance, and dragons. Hell yeah. Oh, man. I love when they toss in dragons and stuff. The Overwatch comic is getting its collection as well. And we have Parasomnia, another Cullen Bunn and Andrea Muti story. Cullen Bunn has ramped it up again. He used to be everywhere before, and now he's back at it from the sounds of things. But all of these projects that he has coming out are bangers, honestly. And I'm really excited about this one too. Comes a new dark fantasy tale about 2 worlds split between dreams and reality. After his son disappears, a broken down man braves a nightmarish dreamscape in order to find him. And battle the ruthless cult that seeks to rule the land of dreams as the barrier between realities starts to collapse. So a nice dreamlike horror story. I can guarantee you there's going to be some trees in this because Cullen Bunn loves some trees and some afterlife. Used to great effect in The Sixth Gun, which is one of my absolute favorites of his. There is the return of Sin City, for those of you who have been champing at the bit, wondering why there's no collections, because there wasn't. They were out of print for a long time. And so there's going to be some new editions for folks to get their hands on. Long time coming. Seven McCrane's Space Boy Omnibus. I adore this series. You can go to Webtoon online, Webtoon, or on your apps and whatnot, and read this for free. On that app, I highly recommend it because they do a wonderful thing with the formatting of the book and the webtoon itself, where it's a scroll on your phone. It's a beautiful read there. They move it around and place it nicely here, and it is just a beautiful, wonderful story about young love and conspiracy. To Amy, everyone has a flavor. When her dad loses his job on a remote deep space colony, Amy and her family are forced to start a new life back on Earth. Emerging from a cryotube after a 30-year voyage, Amy awakes to find herself in a strange land of heavy gravity, weird people, and endless blue sky. And that is just the beginning, honestly. We have also got Primordial here from Bruce Zick. In the distant past, in an underwater realm, Nellar discovers that he is no longer that he can no longer breathe underwater, but needs oxygen from the air to survive. Brandon, a freak of nature, and banished from the kingdom. Between battling monsters and other Lemurians who want him dead, he searches for a place where he can not only survive, but a place he can call home. So yeah, they're putting out a lot of collections, including a Stranger Things library edition for folks who are wanting some of those Stranger Things stories, but in a nice larger size. And speaking of which, there's also the library edition of Umbrella Academy, You Look Like Death, which is, of course, about Klaus and gaudy as heck. It's going to be hot pink, baby. Super great. And as always, there is an exclusive 8-page story that'll be exclusive to the hardcovers. And we'll have a foreword by Robert Shahan, who plays Klaus in the show. I am probably actually going to go for the slipcase edition because it is bonus gaudy with that so awesome Hawaiian t-shirt box. Good gravy. That's going to look awesome on my shelf. I don't go for a lot of the big books, but when I do, I go all out. And the Young Hellboy series is getting a hardcover collection. I think this is kind of missing where the audience is. A regular size hardcover edition instead of going for a young adult format. But hey, Mike Mignola knows what he's doing. He's marketing to his audience. I do think this could have been an opportunity to market to a younger audience and get people slowly into the concept, but yeah, to each their own. From IDW, we have the first Chibi Usagi collection, Attack of the Heebie-Chibis, which is a all ages Chibi Usagi Yojimbo. And guess what? At the graphic novel size and at graphic novel prices. Kind of like you can see the area that they're going for. Chibi Usagi brings these fun and thoughtful stories to middle grade readers as an original graphic novel packed with adorable art and captivating energy. So very cool. Dungeons and Dragons Fells 5 collection will be out. This collects a lot of the John Rogers run, which was absolutely wonderful. You might know John Rogers from the folks what did Leverage. So if you want Leverage style Dungeons and Dragons stories, well, you got it, baby. You got it. And it's right there. Godzilla Rivals versus Hedorah is a one-shot from Paul Aller and EJ Sue. doing some Godzilla fights. Heck yeah. And there is a Jack Kirby Fantastic Four Artisan Edition. So the artist editions are like these nice, giant, oversized books. The artisan ones are a little bit smaller, but they still reproduce the art of the subject in a nice, oversized format, shooting scans from the hand-drawn pages in color, so that you get to see all the blue line, all the changes, all the things that they did to them. So this book includes a lot of really cool stuff, as you can see here. So that's a really cool thing to see, and for a relatively cheap $40 for a great look at some of that art. That, let's face it, I'm never going to hold Jack Kirby art in my hands, probably. If I do, it'll be because a customer is doing a show and tell. And there's a few customers who like to do a show and tell, and I very much appreciate that. Sonic the Hedgehog is getting IDW collection style, which is another oversized hardcover edition. They are absolutely gorgeous. So if you're into some Sonic and want them nice on your shelf, take a look at that. I'm hoping they get around to reprinting some of the Archie stuff. I know there's a bit of contractual stuff tied up in that, but I would like to see some reprints of that stuff, definitely. And Usagi Yojimbo Dragon Below Conspiracy continues the Usagi Yojimbo Classics reprints, printing older Usagi Yojimbos in full color. There's usually a cover artist that runs through the series. The last series had Peach Momoko. This one has David Peterson, the creator of Mouse Guard. Very, very cool. DC Comics we will get to when we get to Lunar. Over here, we got Marvel. Still neck deep in their annual crossover. Not their annual crossover, but their crossover contained within annuals. Jed McKay is spearheading with the Infinity Stones running around here. This one is a Black Cat issue. I will be cross-referencing that for folks getting Black Cat because it's a Black Cat story. And then we'll kind of see where things go from there. The Captain Britain Omnibus is up for grabs. Keep in mind, when you're ordering this, that you'll probably want to do so more from Penguin Random House, because you'll be getting your terrible diamond rate from Diamond if you're ordering some of these omnibuses. So be wary when you're going over those final order cutoffs for little things like that, because they're trying to trick you. The Curse of the Man Thing collection's coming out. This had Steve Orlando writing some stories that featured Spider-Man, X-Men, and the Avengers, and Man Thing. Those are pretty cool. They've got this Patrick Gleason cover on there. Everyone's been loving those minimalistic Patrick Gleason covers. For retailers, we are setting final numbers for Marvel's Free Comic Book Day books. They did recently announce the full creative teams. Do they include them here? Or am I going to have to let you know? Okay, they did. Jason Aaron and Eban Coelho are going to be doing the Avengers story here. Talking about who is the mysterious Avengers Prime. And we've got Donny Cates and Ryan Otley doing a preview of their Hulk run that's going to be starting in November. Meanwhile, on the Spider-Man end of things, we don't actually have who's writing the Spider-Man story here, but we do have Al Ewing and Ram V with Brian Hitch kicking off their run of Venom that will be starting in November. So that'll be very cool. I love Ram V. And Al Ewing is absolutely killing it right now. Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man Chameleon Conspiracy is going to be the conclusion of the story running through Amazing Spider-Man right now. So be aware when you're placing that order, your customers and, you know, all you folks who like reading Spider-Mans, you're going to want to be aware of that to make sure that you get that in your hands. A bunch of these are things coming back into print, like this Marvelverse Wanda and Vision, for folks looking for a YA-sized WandaVision thing to share with the youths. The thing that always weirds me out about these ones is they usually collect a weird sampling of stuff. This is no exception. So you're not going to get a full story, but you're going to get a sampling of different things, and sometimes that's enough for some of the younger folk who are interested in WandaVision, but can't do like the big saga editions that they've been putting out for Wanda and Vision. Video's collection of New Mutants, first collection of New Mutants comes out. This will be the third New Mutants volume, mind you, because the first one was Jonathan Hickman. The second one was Ed Brisson, before I believe he stepped off the book to do Predator. And now we've got Vita's a book coming out in collection. So if you're looking through the through line for that one, that's where you're going to find it. United States of Captain America. While the Captain America book goes on hiatus here very soon, as Ta-Nehisi Coates wraps up his epic run, we have a story of Cap going across America and encountering different folks who have been inspired by him. The shield has been stolen. No one understands the value of the shield like those who've wielded it. So Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson set out on a road trip across America to chase down the thief. But instead, they find the captains, everyday people from all walks of life who've taken up the mantle of Captain America to defend their communities. And for some reason, the shield thief wants them all dead. Can Sam and Steve get to them first? Christopher Cantwell and Dale Eaglesham lead a can't miss miniseries to celebrate Captain America's 80th anniversary, joined by a rotating series of creative teams to tell the stories of each new captain, starting with Aaron Fisher, the Captain America of the Railways, brought to life by Josh Trulio and Jan Bazaldua. There's the concept design for that character. Righty. As always, Dynamite does Dynamite stuff. You'll notice that is one book. I know Marvel's not much better in terms of that. A lot of second printings from Boom Studios. We got Basilisk #1 second print. There's a few of those at the store in first print as well, for those of you looking for it. A great Cullen Bunn book. Nice and creepy. I've been telling people that it does need a second issue to really land the hooks, because they kind of get into the interesting stuff at the end of the first issue. But the atmosphere setup is absolutely wonderful, and the art by Jonas Scharf is outstanding, especially the first pages that have this nice watercolor effect. Really absolutely wonderful. Keeping an eye out for your Power Rangers customers. The Power Rangers Unlimited one-shots that have been coming out. This is no exception, tying into the main series with Frank Gogol, the dude who does Dead End Kids and is a hustler on the internet, my friends. That dude is making sure that people are aware as his comics are available. Always checking in, always making things happen. So be aware that he's gonna be hustling on this one to his base. Answering Zordon's call, the Phantom Ranger investigates the aftermath of the Imperial attack, only to discover their connection to an ancient evil encountered long ago, which may have finally returned to threaten the entire universe. I will say, if you're not reading Power Rangers, these seem extremely cryptic, and that's because, boy howdy, have things been happening in those Power Rangers books. If you love Power Rangers, I do highly recommend checking out the series, probably from the start of the collections, because they are bonkers and wonderful. Barbaric from Vault Comics. Here's something else that I wanted to talk about. You'll notice that there wasn't a whole lot of number ones starting this week. And I always think that this is a mistake because the 5th week of shipping is traditionally a very light week for the bigger publishers. And if you launch a book, there's a high chance that someone's champing at the bit to get something in their hands. I have read this. This is a wild murdery style book, kind of in the vein of Headlopper, but more on the metal side of things than the more fantasy edge trope. Owen the Barbarian has been cursed to do good with what remains of his life. His bloodthirsty weapon axe has become his moral compass with a drinking problem. Together they wander the realm, foredoomed to help any who seek assistance. But there's one thing Owen hates more than a life with rules, witches. Welcome to the skull-cracking, blood-splattering, mayhem-loving comic brave enough to ask, what can a man sworn to do good do so much violence? Or how can a man sworn to do good do so much violence? Ha. Just with you. It's just barbaric. Cussing. Got a cuss button. For reasons. I think it's probably okay to curse on the beats thing, but we try and keep it at least the appearance of PG happening here. Speaking of Frank Gogol and the Dead End Kids, he's got the collection, second collection of the Dead End Kids coming out. SourcePoint also has Boston Metaphysical Society Scourge, Mechanical Men, coming out a one-shot. Granville T. Woods and Nikola Tesla are in a race for time to save Boston from a mysterious disease that turns human beings into soulless machines in this steampunk adventure. This is the first standalone sequel to the Boston Metaphysical Society series about an ex-Pinkerton detective, a spirit photographer, and a genius scientist who battle supernatural forces in late 1800s Boston. So, bonus story for that series. Scout's got the second printing of Locus #1 for folks. Most of humanity has fallen victim to a terrible plague that has turned them into giant locusts. As the locusts consume the earth, the uninfected survivors struggle to stay alive. During the Great Transformation, a fisherman and his elderly mother try to escape decimated New York City. Can they survive? Find out in Locus. Oh yeah, the Mighty Crusaders one-shot of The Shield is coming out, featuring story and art by Rob Liefeld, but with words from David Gallagher, because Liefeld quit this book in a huff. Like he tends to do, with the utmost professionality and maturity. I have had a chance to read this book. It is exactly what you're thinking from a Liefeld book. I don't actually mean that in a bad way. He's got many fans, and for good reason, because he hustles, because he knows his base and the stories that they're looking for from him, and he gives them those stories. It is almost exactly what you think it is, except with a couple of twists that I'm not going to spoil, because apparently that was one of the reasons why Liefeld kind of quit on this endeavor. So will there be more after this? Hard to say. Liefeld has been known to quit some stuff and pop back occasionally, so we will see how that goes. Valiant has the Savage the Wild collection coming out from Max Bemis and Nathan Stockman. Teenage heartthrob, feral social icon, dinosaur hunter, born and raised on an uncharted island full of prehistoric dangers, Kevin Salvage has a taste of home when a mutant dino threat invades England. From the mad minds of international superstar Max Bemis and powerhouse artist Nathan Stockman comes the craziest action book of 2020. Shy Ninja is coming out from Humanoids. 11-year-old Rana suffers from social anxiety disorder, leaving her feeling like an outsider. But when on a dare, she enrolls in a fake-sounding school for ninjas. She quickly learns that it's no joke and that she's destined for ninja greatness if she can conquer her fears in time to save her family from danger. Created and written by the father-daughter team of Ricardo and Hedorah Sanchez. Very cool, very cute. I like that Humanoids is doing some more all ages stuff, and that is a very, very good price point for the sort of middles area. We Live is getting a 4th printing, which is wild because the first collection is already out. People still looking for those issues, and the 5th book is getting a 3rd printing. Very important for some folks who came into the store looking for We Live number 5. A lot of folks looking for that. I hope to make those people aware by final order cutoff. We always do send out a final order cutoff email to help folks out with that, and hopefully they ping us back, because I know I was hearing from a bunch of people who missed out on issue 5. It was a weird situation. So issue 1, 2, and 3, folks bought. A bunch of them dropped it, and then when issue 5 came back, a lot of them wanted it back, and we cut our orders. They didn't want the book. So I'm not sure exactly how or why that went, but hey, it did, and it's a wonderful series, and people really connected with it. So yeah, folks out there looking for an issue 5, it'll happen for you once more. All right, that's previews. Let's go to Lunar. This is what we're talking about when we're talking 5th week stuff. It's a lot of annuals. Although seriously though, look at how the Absolute Fourth World book looks. I know this is the 2nd volume. The first one, I believe, is still available, or will be made available once more very soon here. But it's so gorgeous, and to hold one of those in your hands is just outstanding. Action Comics has an annual coming out, returning to Future State's House of L. I know we talked about this last week. Because of the holiday, we talked about all of Lunar stuff all at once here. I did forget to do that, didn't I? Boop. We're doing Lunar right now. A new addition to the list was the Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries Extravaganza. It collects the first 2 issues of Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries that came out, because folks were clamoring for a restock on that one. And yeah, it's selling great. Kids love them some Batman. Kids love them some Scooby-Doo. Catwoman's got an annual popping out, also from Rom V. All of these annuals have their regular creators on them. So as a shop, I like to cross-reference that for everybody so that they're not missing parts of the story that are very important. The next volume of DC Superhero Girls is happening. We've got a lot of folks digging these quite a bit. We sell so many of these books, and it just keeps on adding readers. I love it so much. Flash Annual is the conclusion to the current story going in Flash, so not even just a one-off. So definitely make sure that you are on top of that one. Last God, a massive collection. It's got, I believe, 15 to 16 issues worth of story. I know it was 12 issue series, but there was a couple one-shots, and a lot of this was oversized, and the art genuinely looks like this on the inside as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful series. The Last God is a high-powered, brutal, and nuanced dark fantasy epic. 30 years ago, a fellowship of brave heroes traveled beyond the borders of reality and killed the last living god, saving the world of Canaan from the tyrant's apocalyptic army of the undead. The legendary companions became the rulers of their world and ushered in a new age of peace and prosperity, but it did not last. Now the foul legions of the Last God march once more, laying waste to all of Canaan and revealing that the aging fellowship may not be the great heroes they claim to be. This monumental hardcover collects the entirety of the Philip Kennedy Johnson and Ricardo Federici's best-selling high fantasy horror masterpiece, The Last God. The book 1 of the Fellspire Chronicles in all of its glory, along with Songs of the Lost Children and an expanded edition of the role-playing campaign source book Tales from the Book of Ages. You're also able to get, once more, full collection of Jack Kirby's OMAC series. Very cool. And some other bits and bobs here, including the tabloid-sized Superboy and Legion of Superhero Heroes reprint, some Supergirl adventures from the animated comic tie-ins, Teen Titans Academy, following up on what's happening in Teen Titans, including some clues on the origin of the new Red X, and Whistle, which I'm very excited for. I know we've read this out before, but I'm going to do it again because you can't stop me. Well, you can turn it off, but whatever. 17-year-old Willow Zimmerman has something to say. When she's not on the streets advocating for her community, she's volunteering at the local pet shelter. She seeks to help those in need, even the stray dog that she's named Leibowitz, that follows her around. But as much as she does for the world around her, she struggles closer to home, taking care of her mother, recently diagnosed with cancer. In desperation, she reconnects with her estranged uncle Edward, and he opens the door to an easier life. Through simple jobs such as hosting his private poker parties with Gotham City elites, she is able to keep her family afloat and afford critical medical treatments for her mother. Then one night, Willow and Leibowitz collide with the monstrous Killer Croc and get injured, waking up able to understand each other. But when Willow discovers that Edward and his friends are actually some of Gotham's most corrupt criminals, she must make a choice: remain loyal to the man who kept her family together, or use her new powers to be a voice for her community. A story for our modern times. Now, as always, we're going to go over the Universal orders. Universal is who we order through, who a lot of Canadian retailers order through. Their orders are due on Thursdays because they need to get their numbers to Lunar. Why? A mystery. Because Universal is located half an hour away from where DC gets their single issues printed. Would seem to reason that they could be a great full-on distributor. I've had no problems with Lunar getting my product to me. And, it's probably no different right now. All right. See if there's anything new to speak on here, because, Batman is well entrenched in its new series here. And Batman and Catwoman are nearing their halfway point. We've got the Batman Secret Files, The Signal one-shot, the first of these different one-shots coming out. The Signal comes back as Gotham City's daytime protector after his time with the Outsiders. But during his sabbatical from his hometown, everything about the city and the people closest to him changed. And the mystery of the white market, a deadly source of weapons being trafficked into Gotham City that even Batman can't track down, will only push the Signal further away from everything he knows and into a brand new world of danger. Writer Tony Patrick returns to pen a new chapter of the life of Duke Thomas alongside fan favorite artist Christian Duce. And yeah, for the most part, it looks like a lot of continuations here. Now these, I wish I knew more about how to properly order these. They will be allocated. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I believe this is the cost for retailers for this. So, but the long and short of it is there's a whole bunch of new Dark Knight's Death Metal record editions coming out that feature folks like Rise Against, Grey Days, and all kinds of stuff. So pretty cool, including Dark Knight's Death Metal soundtrack Lunar exclusive. Ooh la la. So this being something that you can only get through Lunar. So that'll be interesting. All right. All right, from Scout, Gods of Brutality #1. In 2020, rock god Nick Dillon will step off the stage for the final time, ending his 37-year career as the head of the metal band Gods of Brutality. They're about to release their final album, completing the story he set out to tell 37 years before. In his final interview, Nick reveals that when he died for 1 minute and 24 seconds in 1984, he was actually in hell, where he was tortured by demons. In an act of desperation, Nick prayed to any god that would listen. And thankfully, his pleas were answered when Thor and Hercules were dispatched to save him. This is the comic telling that story. The Joker Harley Criminal Sanity collection is finally coming out. It's going to be really cool. The whole shebang, it was 8 or 9 issues. I think 8 issues. Part of the Black Label line in one of the earlier books. In Gotham City, heinous acts of violence occur daily. Harley Quinn, forensic psychiatrist and profiler, consults with the Gotham City Police Department on its worst cases, but one unsolved murder still haunts her. The night Harley discovered her roommate's body marked with the signature of the notorious serial killer known as the Joker. 5 years later, the case remains unsolved as a new series of horrific killings begin. When the murders escalate and the meticulously constructed crime scenes become more elaborate, Harley's obsession with finding the depraved psychopath responsible leads her down a dangerous path. The past and the present finally collide, and Harley must decide how far she's willing to go and how many lines she's willing to cross to solve these cases once and for all. Written by #1 New York Times and international bestselling author Cami Garcia of Beautiful Creatures, Unbreakable, The X-Files Origins, and drawn by Miko Suyen from Bloodshot Reborn, Jason Bador from Wonder Woman 77, and Mike Mayhew, who's done The Star Wars, very specifically The Star Wars. Joker Harley Criminal Sanity introduces readers to a Joker and Harley Quinn unlike any they've seen before, utilizing forensic psychiatry, behavior analysis, and psychological profiles to create a true-to-life take on these iconic characters that is more terrifying than any psychotic fantasy. There was actually a lot of good research done for that, to be sure. Justice League Infinity tackles the animated Justice League series from Justice League Unlimited producer James Tucker and series writer J.M. DeMatteis. Comes a new season starring the world's greatest heroes. There is a being wandering the universe, searching for its true purpose. But what it finds out on the farthest reaches of the cosmos will change not just our universe, but many. Meanwhile, the war for the throne of Apocalypse arrives on Earth, and the true ruler will only be decided one way: who can destroy the Justice League. We already talked about the Locust #1 second printing. As you can tell, it is on final order cutoff here as well, along with issue 2. For folks, most Scout product is not on final order cutoff at Diamond ever. So it's kind of cool that we can get a chance to adjust our orders here now. The Lunar Ladies. 1 million years ago in outer space, a highly advanced society of women lives under the surface of the moon. Their peaceful way of living is quietly fracturing from the inside as political ideologies pit the Queen of the Moon against the geneticist hell-bent on usurping the Queen's power. The Lunar Ladies is a homage to the public domain character Moon Girl, complete with Golden Age ray guns and laser rays. Pew pew! Murder Hobo Chaotic Neutral #1 is coming out. This is a filthy series, and I mean that not in the dirt and grime way. What happens when you cross a violent, drunk, and baby-making demon with a pixie dust addict? You get Murder Hobo, Chaotic Neutral. In the lands of high adventure, where brave warriors seek out fame and fortune, the unlucky few will recruit a murder hobo into their ranks. Follow the further exploits of Roddy the Rotten, Big Mama Venus, and Spectra Liaison as they team up with and ruin the plans of every adventure they come across. This series also launches a new collection of tales featuring the Frothmancer Pimp Daddy, Lord Froth, and his army of undead gigolos. Featuring 4 new tales from a new creative team. And A Nice House on the Lake is getting their second issue, so definitely be aware of that one. See, the first week of the of the month, because that's what we're going over here, is the first week of July stuff. Much different than the amount of stuff coming out on the last week of June. And that's kind of the volume stuff that we end up dealing with. No Ghosts in Hiroshima. Dr. James Henderson is racked with guilt because of the mistake he made many years ago. He believes that he has unwittingly condemned an innocent soul to eternal suffering and pain. In an attempt to set things right, he has worked for years to invent a way to free his soul from hell. But Dr. Henderson's efforts have stirred demonic attention by those who see this as a way to seize power in hell. Chased by these demons, Dr. Henderson is badly injured and is forced to hand over his discoveries to his prize pupil, a medical intern named Dr. Gabriel Oldman, imploring him to deliver the briefcase to an old friend before it's too late. Enjoy this first issue of this nonstop title, followed by the entire story collected soon after in one volume. So a little taster, and then you get the series. All right, and a couple more things to go over here. Tart. Toxic Origins. Tart Acid was just like them, a frightened soul, learning that hell exists and that she could play a part in protecting Earth's history from demonic intervention. Now she is the guide for 3 new recruits, explaining how her band of time-traveling demon hunters ended up risking their immortal souls to stand against the forces of hell. Come along as some of the mysteries of the toxic universe are revealed in Tart, Toxic Origins. And Unearthed, a Jessica Cruz story. Acclaimed author Lilium Rivera and artist Steph C. reimagine one of DC's greatest Green Lanterns, Jessica Cruz, to tell a story about immigration, family, and overcoming fear to inspire hope. Jessica Cruz has done everything right. She's a dedicated student, popular among her classmates, and has a loving family that she has done everything they can to give her a better life in the United States. Jessica usually worries for her undocumented parents, but her fears and anxieties accelerate as a mayoral candidate with a strong anti-immigration stance runs for office. As the xenophobia in Coast City increases, Jessica begins to debate if it's worth staying in the US or moving back to her home in Mexico. And despite her attempts to lean on her friends and her family, she finds herself constantly visited by visions of Aztec gods, and one pulling her toward hope and the other toward anger. But when her father is detained by ICE, Jessica finds herself being pulled into an abyss of anxiety. Despite feeling helpless with her father, Jessica must find her way out of her fears and ultimately become a voice for her community. And that wraps things up for this week. I would like to thank you all for watching the show. I very much appreciate it. I know a lot of folks end up watching this after the fact. Hear from you a lot in the store and occasionally messages. So thank you all for watching. I do really hope that all of this is helpful and that you're all having a great day. Just a little bit before this started, there was a 3-second torrential rainstorm. And now it's all nice and bright again. So I might go for a little bit of a walk, honestly. I feel like I kind of need to get out a little bit into the fresh air and smell some of that fresh rainwater that just fell down. So thank you all for watching, and we will talk to you again next week. Bye.